What's up, everyone? Shenandoah Valley Reefer here. Just wanted to give a update on the Waterbox 230.6. I know in my last video I said I was going to give a tour of the sump and the equipment that I was using, and I didn't do that. My apologies. I did record that. It just didn't record well, so I pulled it out of the video. But today I am going to do that tour of the sump and the equipment, talk about the fish that I have and the corals that I have. I still currently have some fish in my quarantine system. I'm going to do a quick video of that at some point and get that uploaded just so everybody can see what additional fish I'm going to add to my display. I did recently install a Red Sea Reef Mat 1200. I recorded that and I have that content as well, and I'm going to get that uploaded pretty quickly. The reason I filmed that and recorded that is because before I installed the reef mat on this tank, I couldn't find a video that specifically pertained to the Waterbox 230.6. So that's why I filmed that. I have what I used to complete the install. And as soon as I can get that edited, like I said, I'll get it posted on the channel. So now we're just going to dive into the tour and talk about the equipment, fish, and corals that I have. So we'll get started with the circulation pumps or power heads, whatever you want to call them. I have two MP60s, one on either side, and I have two MP40s on the rear. My lighting is four AI Hydra 32s with diffusers on them. I believe they're from 3dreefing.com, I believe. If not, I'll correct that. All right, I have a control cabinet that I made years ago for a reef tank, for one of my first reef tanks actually. And this is just where I keep the controllers for all the power heads, the return pumps, the protein skimmer, and the temperature controller. Now I was able to find a guy on eBay that actually makes cords for these MP40s and MP60s. That way you can have the controller in a dry cabinet and then still reach on the far side of a 6-foot tank like this one is. So now we'll just dive into the sump. All right, so there's the Red Sea Reef Mat 1200. I did hard plumb that in using unions, and I used it. It comes with some flex ribbed tubing, and I did use a little bit of that, but it's just from the end. See if I can get this in here without getting everything wet. It's just from the end of what those 90s are. You can't really see it. I mean, it's, let me get this brush out of the way. You can kind of see it right there, just a short little piece, just because that bend would be hard to make. And I left the emergency drain on top, and then I used, some people would say far too many 90s, but I was trying to keep it looking clean and have as much hard plumbing as possible. Offset these unions, these unions up here, they're adaptive reef, and they take it from metric to standard size, and then I just reduced it down, so it's like 40 millimeter, I think is what it is, and that takes it to 1.25 inches. And then I use these reducers to take it from 1.25 inches to 1 inch, because the inlet for the fleece roller is 1 inch, and that's plenty of flow, because these sumps are low flow sumps anyway. If you don't have low flow through the sump, it's just gonna make the aquarium's gonna be noisy. So here's a refugium. I have it on the smaller side, because I'm only trying to just grow this callurp in here, and got, 2 pieces of live rock. These are the ice cap bio balls, I believe they are, and then a bio ball rack. I use this because it can hold a lot of beneficial bacteria, but also is clean and crisp looking. It looks nice, keeps all the detritus from sitting in the bottom, I mean, there's a little bit of detritus over here where the two return pumps are. The most detritus probably actually gathers under this fleece roller right here. And I recently just, get these out of the way. I recently just vacuumed it out yesterday. It wasn't that bad, really. I expected it to be worse. I got my two heaters in this compartment. They're two 500-watt Phoenix heaters, and they run on that temperature controller. This rack, that white rack that you see the fleece roller sitting on, it's made out of, I just went to like a local home improvement store, and it's called a light diffuser, or you could call it egg crate, but at the home improvement store, they call it light diffuser. And I just cut that to size, because what I found out with this fleece roller is the higher you can have it out of the water, the more head pressure it's putting on this fleece to actually push the water through it. And I've had this thing installed since October, and I'm only on my third roll. The last roll, I got 8 weeks out of it. 8 weeks, and I'm on track to get another 8 weeks out of this one. And I probably would get more out of the fleece roller, but I've been battling a lot of hair algae and cyanobacteria in the display tank. And the only way I've been able to really combat it so far is by just manually removing it with water changes and just scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing with toothbrushes. And it's annoying, but every week when I clean it, the following week it's a little bit less and a little bit less. So I'm going to keep on fighting this hair algae and cyanobacteria, and eventually I should have it kicked. So what I've got in the return chamber is I'm running two Ecotech Vectras, the M2 and the S2. Now the M2 is running up here, and this is my main return. And then these Waterbox 230s come with a little manifold, but I plumbed this one on here. And we'll talk more about that in a second. And then I've got this Vectra S2, which is running one of the UV sterilizers over there at a decent enough speed to deal with algae, although it's not helping me all that much. The other UV sterilizer is coming off this manifold right here, which is off the main return. And it just barely sends enough water up to just barely get the water over it. So hopefully that's dealing with any parasite or ick that I may have, which I'm 90% sure there is no ick in this aquarium because I've quarantined so strictly. All right, so back to this manifold right here. Like I said, I plumbed it in from where Waterbox has this T right here coming off the return. And I thought it would work really well, which it does for light flow over that one UV sterilizer. But the thing is if I wanted to put something on these other two valves, I just wouldn't have enough flow. So what I'm going to end up doing is pulling these gate valves off and just remaking the manifold. And I'm going to take this Vectra S2 pump right here. I'm going to use it to run the manifold and run both of these UV sterilizers, and I'll just close this gate valve, one of them, to slow down that flow to where I got one moving quick and one moving slowly. And then I'll either just put the one that Waterbox gives you right here, or I'll just put the cap in there, probably the cap, because I'm actually going to have 4 valves right here. That way, if it's something else I want to run, I got 2 options, because 2 are going to be taken up by the UV sterilizers, and that should help a little bit. But I mean, I've always liked using manifolds. I had them on my previous reef tanks, and I used them to run a lot of different things. I just didn't think that because that hole right there was 1/2 inch, so I just wouldn't get the flow that I need to run other things. Now these UV sterilizers, they're the Pentar 25-watt UV sterilizers. They're pretty good. I like having them mounted back there, but the mistake that I made is now if I want to clean the quart sleeve on them, I'm probably not going to get them out. Probably not going to be able to do it because I have no way to drain the water to get that quart sleeve out. That's probably the biggest mistake that I made when I plumb these in. And what these are doing is they're returning to the back of the aquarium. That's the one that moves a little bit faster right there. And then here's the other one that moves a little bit slower. I know a lot of people just dump them off in their sump, but I don't do that because this is just my opinion. I'm no expert. I think that you're just re-UV sterilizing the same water over and over and over and over and over again. Whereas if you're pulling it out of the return chamber and then sending it back to the display, I think it's a little bit more effective. Now my ATO, it's an old one, an old school one, an old Auto Aqua. I've had it for years. It's still chugging along just fine, but every once in a while, I'll look in here and the sensor light is flickering. So it's not going to be long, and it's not going to work anymore. It's just an old school single optic eye sensor. All the new ones, they now have two sensors for a low water reading and a high water reading. So I do have a new ATO. It's the Tunes Osmolator 3. I obviously haven't installed it yet, but I'm going to. I'm just trying to get all that I can out of this one. And then when I do install that, I will make a video of that. So this rear chamber back here, where the drains drain from the water, from Waterbox, I have that chamber dry. There's no water in there at all. And you can see that my water level with the fleece roller is just, you can kind of see it just about a ½ inch below where the water would be coming in. And I've been able to keep it dry. But the trick that I found to doing that is when I turn the return pumps off, I close this drain all the way, I close that valve all the way, and then I close this valve all the way to keep anything from siphoning. There is a gate valve up there in the overflow box from Waterbox, but it just keeps, it makes it to where the water level in these two chambers doesn't, that's as high as it gets, so it doesn't backflow back into that chamber in the back. The protein skimmer is a max spec Aqua Aero Duo AD600. It's I've had the skimmer for quite a long time. It's a really, really, really good skimmer. It skims a lot of skimmate. You can skim dry, you can skim wet. It's got a controller and it's DC, so you can really tune in the motor to get what you want. It has two intakes. It has one intake there and one intake there. This one on the left, I have it closed all the way, and I got this one wide open. I just don't have quite enough bio load to warrant having both of them open. It skims far too wet. It's already been skimming wet. I think that's just since yesterday, but I did do a lot of cleaning yesterday, so it pulled a lot of junk out of the water. And I mean, it's a really good skimmer. I'd probably buy it again, but I think it's a pretty good deal. Now this Waterbox drain system is really, really, really nice. But like I mentioned, the sump is such a low flow sump that if these return pumps, when they get dirty, it slows the return speed down, so that I'm having to close this drain. And it just seems like every couple of days I'm having to come in here and close this drain a little bit as the pumps, impellers get dirty. And I haven't really found a way to combat that yet. I was thinking that maybe skimming a little bit wetter would help, which it's helped a little bit. Adding the fleece roller definitely helped a lot, because I would get a lot of detritus built up in this return pump section, and I haven't vacuumed it out in a long, long time, and that's all the detritus that's in there, so it has definitely helped. I was having some trouble with the skimmer, but it was my fault. I wasn't running the motor fast enough, so it wasn't pulling enough gunk out of the water. So hopefully now that kind of starts to improve it. So if anybody, has any tips on how to, I mean, obviously it's totally quiet. It's, you can hear the skimmer a little bit, but the sump is super quiet. The aquarium is super quiet. But I don't know if it's a return pump issue. They're just too sensitive to get dirty, or if the tank's just too new. The tank in a couple of weeks, about 2 weeks, will be running for a year. So I would think that it would start to be, dialed in. But I've got cameras up here so I can keep an eye on stuff. I also got a camera on the tank. My refugium light is the AI Fugue 16. It's a really good light. It's super, super bright. I've got it turned down pretty big time. I'm trying to encourage the hair algae to grow in here. If it's going to grow anywhere, if I can't get the hair algae under control pretty soon, I'm probably going to get a hair algae reactor and maybe abandon the refugium. I'm not entirely sure yet. I need to get an ICP test done and see, and my source water could have a lot of silicates in it. That's the only thing I can think of that's encouraging the growth, because the phosphates and nitrates are pretty low on this tank. There's not really an area for it to catch detritus, and it's a bare bottom tank, and I'm pushing a lot of flow through here. So that also, you can see on either side, there's really not much detritus at all. And when I pull the rocks up to kind of scrub them a little bit, there's not much detritus. Cyanobacteria and the hair algae, they've been my biggest battles by far. You can see there's hair algae growing, here and there. It's incredible how fast it grows. Every week I'm in here cleaning hair algae out of this tank. I would have thought that I would have had more coralline algae growing by now, but for whatever reason, it just can't really get a good foothold in this tank. But there's a couple of specks here and there, so I'm hoping that it starts to spread. So I have quite a few tangs in here. You can see right here on the side, so there's some of that cyanobacteria. It's just hard to get it off the shells, man. It's hard. So talked about these fish previously. Those are my pair of clownfish and the Talbot damsel. There's a female Japanese swallowtail angelfish. There's two of them in here, actually. You can keep them in groups or in a pair. Can't really see her because of the glare. There's my purple tang, convict tang, gold rim tang. There's the other angelfish. I got a Desjardini. There's a lavender tang in here. They're not liking the camera. There's that blue-eyed bristletooth tang is in here. So I do use feeders. These are the Eheim, just everyday fish feeders. Got one on either side, and that's the little dock accessory that you can buy with it. I've got these two little fishy nori clips, and I give these guys nori once a day because I'd want them to eat the hair algae that's growing in the tank. The tangs, that's part of their job. The corals that I have, looks like one of the crabs was just messing with the Avalipora. That's a lavender Avalipora. That's a frog spawn, a Duncan, and then another frog spawn. They were opened up a little bit more earlier, but I did some more hair algae scrubbing today, and they weren't big fans of it. This one was just opened up pretty well. I think there must have been a crab or a snail kind of rubbing up against it. But here are the tangs and two angelfish. There's 6 tangs in here right now, and 2 angelfish. They all get along pretty good. The purple tang right there, of course, it's in charge for now. I have 4 more tangs and 2 more of the angelfish in quarantine. The 4 tangs that I have in quarantine, I have a small Sohal tang. I have a very small Achilles tang. I have a Scopus tang. And then I have another square tail bristletooth tang. Probably what's going to end up happening is I'm going to trap that gold rim tang and trap the blue-eyed bristletooth tang and just get them pulled out and take them back up to the local fish store. I do not think the Achilles and the golden rim are going to get along very well. And the two bristletooths, they probably won't get along very well either. And I think the square tail bristletooth tang is a lot prettier. So that's my Waterbox 230.6. Plan on starting to add a lot more corals here pretty soon. I just don't want to do too much too fast, and I've been trying to really focus on getting all my fish through quarantine. I have quite a few fish in quarantine. I know I already touched on it a little bit, but I have Anthias, a couple dotty backs, some damsels. Let's see, got a 6-line wrasse in there, a purple firefish. I think that's some bang-eye cardinal fish. But I'll put a video up of the quarantine system here pretty soon. I just hit it with Prazzi Pro yesterday, so it's a little murky right now from a little bit of bacteria blooming from it. That's one of the things that happens with Prazzi sometimes, is a little bacterial bloom kind of gets going, and you can't turn the UV sterilizer on because it kind of renders the Prazzi Pro useless. So that's my Waterbox 230.6. If anybody's wondering about this light rack, I made this out of extruded aluminum. I believe it's 2020. I made it all, got it all off Amazon, all the 90s and the brackets, and I wish I'd have made it a little bit bigger, because what I had to end up doing back here is I had to double it up, because from the weight of the lights, it was sagging. But after I doubled it up, solid as a rock, you could probably hang off of it. And it goes all the way back down to here. I got brackets on there to help hold up the UV sterilizer returns. The UVs are actually mounted on that extruded aluminum as well. So this stuff's very versatile, very strong, and it kind of gives a cool industrial look, which is kind of what we've been doing with the whole house. So there's the Waterbox 230.6. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments or any tips on how to beat this cyanobacteria or hair algae, I'm all ears. Thanks for watching.